This particular session in the Ultimate Sleep Upgrade may be the most powerful and valuable session out of this entire course. And the reason I say that is because our sleep is really under attack. There are a lot of things in our world, there are a lot of things even in your home that might be interfering with your natural ability to get that really deep rest that you want. And so this session could be the most powerful and the most valuable out of everything in this program, because once you learn what these enemies of your sleep are, and then you eliminate them, you may find yourself naturally sleeping without even doing anything else. So, and I'll just say this, you might already be familiar with some of these. You know, you might have read a magazine article, or you might have seen something online, or you might have talked to somebody and heard about these things that we're going to talk about. But here's my challenge to you. Have you ever heard about something and still not taken action on it? I mean, we've all done that, right? At one time or another. So this is my challenge to you, heart to heart. Once you hear something, if it makes sense to you, then do something about it. Remember, this program is not just about feeling better, it's about doing better and about being better and getting better results. So with that being said, the title of this session is called Sleep Shield, Defending Your Sanctuary. Because that's what your sleep is. Your sleep time, this is your sanctuary. It's your chance to unplug from the world, to reconnect with yourself, to reconnect with your own heart, your own emotions, your own sense of being and even purpose in this world. I mean, sleep is really powerful. But when you've got these outside forces, sometimes without even being aware of them, we allow things to creep into our sanctuary. And this can interrupt your ability to get sleep. So we're putting these into 3 categories, and I'll break down what some of the elements in each of these categories are so that you can do something about it. Okay, so the first element, the first area that we're going to look at really has to do with the world. And when we think about the world, the world is kind of brought to us, right? And how do you interact with the world? And when I say the world, I mean the news, Facebook and social media and TV shows. And how do you interact with the world? Or more accurately, how does the world interact with you? Well, chances are that it comes from a screen. It comes from a screen. Now, I want you to really think about this for just a second. How many times have you been on a screen, laying in bed, absorbing all of that information, even if it's something that's interesting for you, or even if it's something that's valuable, but you still have the world coming at you? And then you turn the screen off and you can't sleep. Has that ever happened to you? I am going to suggest that there is a direct correlation between the screen time and the lack of our ability to get the deep sleep that we so badly want. So here's my challenge for you. Leave screens out of the equation. Just test this for yourself. For at least 1 hour before you intend to go to sleep, let's eliminate the screens. This may include your phone. It might include a tablet or your computer. It might even include a television. Now, this might be scary for you if you're used to watching TV and falling asleep because you like that white noise. You know, I'm not here to take anything away from you. I'm just here to suggest that as you get more connected with your body, as you get more connected with your natural energies, anything that is external might actually prove to be counter to your goals. If your goal is to get a deep night's sleep, why not leave anything unnatural out of it? And the bottom line is, human beings didn't evolve looking at screens. We evolved being connected with the natural world, of which you are very much still a part. So if we want to keep the world sort of at bay and tap into this natural rhythm of your energy, my first challenge to you is to just eliminate the screens. Okay, so that's number one on this topic of the world. Now, how else can you defend your sanctuary? Well, the world not only includes information through these screens, but it also includes communication. This means emails, this means texting, this means having an undone communication with someone else. And so you've got a choice here. You can leave it to tomorrow, or if you have any of those open loops, my invitation to you is to close them. This very much connects you to the world. And if you still feel that connection, you have an undone email, you have an unanswered phone call, why not do that before you try and go to sleep? You know, I've done this myself. I've even found myself trying to fall asleep and I can't. And all of a sudden I realize, you know what, there's an email that I just didn't return. And I've gotten up out of bed, I go, I return the email, and next thing you know, that was the thing. And I don't know if that's exactly it for you, but this idea of having all of these other communications, either turn them off and just resign yourself to the fact that you're going to deal with it tomorrow, but don't keep it in front of you, or why not handle it? Why not actually just close some of those loops? Even if it's something as simple as saying, hey, I'm getting ready to head in for the night, I'll message you in the morning. You can feel sort of a weight come off your chest by addressing the thing that needs to be addressed. Now, that may or may not be an issue for you, but I've seen this happen for a lot of people. So if we're going to keep the world kind of out of our sanctuary, that's a really important thing to do. So we've got screens, we have our communication, and this leads to a really important part, the last part of this whole world concept, and that is our commitments. This might be a commitment with a family member or a friend. It might be a commitment that's personal or professional. You owe it to yourself to have your own private, personal space. And if you find yourself letting your communications build up and your commitments to other people build up, and I'm not saying you do this, but sometimes those commitments build up, and all we want to do is just escape. All we want to do is just try and take a nap, try and fall asleep, but we can't. I mean this with all respect, okay? And I'm not blaming you at all. I've done the same thing myself. But if we're trying to avoid facing those commitments, if we're trying to avoid having those communication, and sometimes, you know, we've been avoiding them for a while, our conscience, our own sense of duty, our own sense of empathy and concern for other people, that can really interfere with your ability to relax. And again, this may not be an issue for you at all, but I've heard from a lot of people who simply haven't thought about this, and they think that it's because something's wrong with their body and that's why they can't sleep, when really it's because there's somebody that you've been meaning to get back to and you haven't. That may not be the news in the world like we talked about. It might not have anything to do with the screen. But your commitments are a huge part of your energy in life. And if there are commitments that are left undone, or if there are commitments that are not being addressed, that can act as an energy drain, because your mind and your brain and your subconscious is still kind of paying attention to that. So it might be that you need to have one of those so-called 5-minute sweaty palm conversations. Maybe there's somebody you've been avoiding, and maybe not. I'm not pointing any fingers here. But I do know that there's a lot of energy that gets freed up when our commitments to other people are left clean. Okay? So that first category, the world, which includes screens and communications and commitments, you may find that by bringing these to the surface and by being more intentional in how you're addressing these things, you may find that that alone allows you to enter into a very nice space when it is time to go to sleep. In the second segment of this Sleep Shield session, we're talking about defending your sanctuary. And in the last session, we talked about the world. We talked about screens and communication and commitments. Well, now we're going to bring it a little bit closer to where you're actually going to be. We're going to actually talk about your sleep environment. And sometimes there are things that are happening in your sleep environment that if you just get rid of them, the space naturally opens up for you to have an amazing rest and to sleep deeply, to dream vividly, to wake up in the morning feeling amazing. So we're going to talk about your environment, and there are 3 topics here. The first one is light. As simple as this sounds, it's astonishing to me how many people I've talked to who simply don't make darkness a priority. You know, they don't make having a peaceful, quiet, or a peaceful, dark place a priority. So they've got lights coming in from the other room. You know, sometimes people still leaving the TV on, and if you want to do that, that's fine. But our bodies are designed to sleep in the dark. It's how our bodies evolved. You know, artificial light is a pretty new thing in the human experience. And for millions of years, human beings went to sleep when the sun went down. Except now we have all of these other artificial lights. You know, you've got lamps and you've got phones and screens. And so our eyes are bringing in that photonic energy, and it makes it very difficult for our brain to relax. And if your brain can't relax, your body can't relax. And so the challenge is really simple. Keep your room dark. And that means that you get thicker curtains, or if it means that you ask somebody to turn the lights off before they go to bed. You know, that's happened to me before. You know, you fall asleep and next thing you know, you wake up and there's a light coming in because the last person to fall asleep didn't turn the light out. There's a lot of reasons why you might have light coming in to your sleeping area. And so this is just a simple reminder to keep it dark. And if that means having better curtains, if it means even getting a sleep mask of some sort, you know, these are all things that you can do. They're very easy, that will keep your visual channels turned off, AKA your sight, your eyes. Let's keep the light out of your eyes, keep the light out of your brain. And there's a lot of cool research on this. If you want to explore, you can dig around, but the bottom line is keep it dark. Where does good sleep happen? It happens inside of your brain and your body. So by giving yourself that defense against outside stimulation of light, that really gives your brain a head start. Okay, so that's number 1. Now here's another one. This is a big part of people's environment, and I realize it may be different for everybody, but we're talking about sound. How many times has this happened to you? You're just drifting off to a nice sleep. Or maybe a good meditation session if you meditate. And I've experienced this. You're just drifting off, and next thing you know, there's traffic outside, or there's a noise, or you forgot to put your phone in airplane mode. I don't even know if you're doing that, but that's another thing we'll talk about. Next thing you know, you've got this sound, and you're alert, and you're back awake. Even if it's barely noticeable, I can assure you, your brain is picking up all of it. And so this is the second invitation for defending your sleep sanctuary. Make it quiet. And I realize you may live in a place that has traffic, or may have neighbors, or you may have family members that are on a little different schedule than you are, and that's okay. Personally, something that I found to be really useful is a simple set of earplugs. Now, you might say, no, but I have to be awake because of what if something happens? And I get it. I'm not, these are all just simple suggestions. But I'm going to challenge you to eliminate the sound as much as possible and watch what happens. Just observe what happens in your own mind, in your own body, when you actually get to experience silence. So these 2 things alone can be a huge advantage in creating a really good sleep sanctuary. Make the light go away, make the sound go away, and what you end up with is your own sort of private sanctuary. Something I do when I'm traveling is I have a sleep mask and I have a good pair of earplugs. that itself is a portable sanctuary. They fit in your pocket, and anywhere you want to go, if you're on a flight or a train or any sort of place where you want to just get a few minutes by yourself, pop that sleep mask on, put those earplugs in. Next thing you know, it's like a portable sanctuary. So something worth checking out. The last part that we're going to talk about on your actual environment is where you're sleeping. Now, I'm not going to get into the bed and the covers and the pillow and all of that. There are so many options, and you'll find what's right for you. Personally, I found that I can sleep anywhere as long as I'm doing the nighttime ritual that we're teaching in this program, as long as I'm doing some of the other things. But I have found it useful to have the right temperature. If you don't know what your right temperature is, I'm going to invite you to experiment with that. Maybe sleeping in a warmer temperature is something that will help you sleep better. If you've not tested it, test it. And maybe you're one of those people who needs it a little bit cooler. Maybe you like to get under the covers, and that helps you sleep better. My point is, you get to test these things, and you get to arrive at your own optimal sleep environment. So when we're looking at your home and exactly where you're at, changing the light, changing the sound, changing the temperature, these can all go a long way towards creating the ultimate environment for you. I'm going to give you one more bonus on this part before we get to the next section. If I haven't said it already, your phone, that screen, I can already hear what you're saying. You're like, that's my alarm. I need it right next to me. That's cool. I do the same thing. But I found such an advantage to keep the phone on airplane mode and to have it away from the bed, not right next to the bed. Because if you're at all like me, you've got a lot going on, and as soon as you wake up, guess what? Your phone's in your hand because you got to turn the alarm off. But once your phone's in your hand, that muscle memory kicks in, and next thing you know, airplane mode is off, and there's Facebook, or there's your email, or there's all those texts coming in. Is that really the way that you want to wake up and start your day? I'm just going to challenge you here. Again, I know I'm giving you a lot of challenges here. But why not put your phone in airplane mode? Why not have it separate from your bed area? Why not put it in a place where you actually have to physically get up? And while we're at it, what if you actually had a different alarm mechanism? I mean, you'll even reach the point where you don't need an alarm. You can wake up without an alarm. It's a skill that you can develop. But I'm just going to say, take your phone and put it somewhere else. And the ultimate challenge for most of us these days, turn your phone off. Turn your phone off and actually allow yourself to experience a real sanctuary. I mean, these days, just having your phone off can feel like a kind of scary thing. But test it. Turn your phone off, have something else as an alarm, and just try it for a couple of nights. You know, that may be the one thing that's actually keeping you mentally, emotionally, even physiologically sort of hooked to the outside world, and that might be why you're not getting enough sleep. You can always go back and do what you're normally doing, but this is a very simple way. Changing the light, changing the sound, changing your temperature, and leaving your phone off. Judge it by yourself. Test the results, as with all of this. But personally, I found this to be an incredibly powerful way of upgrading my own sleep and my own rest. And the best part is that when you wake up in the morning after sleeping so deeply, you can't wait to engage with life again. You're excited about working with the world and getting back to your phone. But it's kind of hard to miss something if you never leave it. So why not give yourself a little mini vacation, and why not try that tonight? And the final part of this Sleep Shield session, defending your sanctuary. You know, we've looked at the world, we've looked at your environment, your immediate sleep environment, and now we're going to go to the final frontier, and we're actually going to talk about you, more specifically, your body. Where does good sleep happen? Good sleep happens in your brain, in your mind, in your body. So this is easy, like all of this. And if you've heard this, that's awesome. Again, I'm going to remind you that there is a difference between hearing something and applying it. So if you hear something that you've already heard before, that's awesome. I'm just going to gently remind you, have you been doing it? And if you haven't, there's no need to beat yourself up over this. Just start doing it and see how it feels. So this last area, our body, there are so many things that we can fall into a habit of and then not realize how it's affecting our ability to get a good night's sleep. And the thing that I've definitely done in the past is I've worked a long day, I've gotten real busy, I've got a lot of stuff going on, realize it's almost bedtime, and man, I just haven't eaten. So you know what? I'm gonna get a good meal in and then I'm gonna go to sleep. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. But what I've experienced is that the act of eating puts a lot of strain on your body. You've got to digest that food, your stomach's got to grind it up, you've got all these chemicals that are involved, and that requires a lot of energy from your body. Energy that actually could be used to repair and rejuvenate and actually get a lot of deep rest. Now, I'm not saying go to bed hungry. What I am suggesting is to be mindful. Eat earlier. If you can eat a couple of hours before you know you're going to go to sleep, you may find that that will be a big upgrade for you. So just keep an eye on your food and try and eat a little bit earlier, a couple of hours, 2, maybe 3 hours before you go to sleep. Now, this goes right into something that is, this used to be a huge part of my life. I used to train a lot, right? Martial arts and competing. And some of my workouts were at night, because I'd be teaching all day long and I would do my workout. I'd be moving a lot. And I would do my workout sometimes 9 or 10 o'clock at night, finish the workout, finish the training, and then go home and try and sleep. Shocker, I couldn't sleep. I was all energized from the workout. And that you may not be doing this, but you might. I know I did. So if you're doing any kind of physical activity, even if that physical activity is putting your kids to bed, or even if that physical activity is going out and checking the mail and then you're trying to go to sleep, or you forgot to put the car in the garage and you put the car in the garage and you're kind of active, you're moving around, and then you go right to try and fall asleep. That's a lot of movement. It's a lot of activity for your brain and for your body to then try and go right to sleep. So why not give yourself a break from any sort of activity, exercise, movement? Why not give yourself an hour or so before you are drifting off to sleep? Just something to consider. Now, on that note, I mentioned eating earlier. What if you were to do this? What if you were to go for a little bit of a walk after eating your last meal of the day? That's getting your body moving. It's getting your blood pumping a little bit. You relax a lot more, and then you've got an hour, 2, 3 hours before you're actually falling asleep. Just that one idea could be the one thing in this whole course that does it for you. Have a nice meal and go for a walk. Go walk around the block. Go walk to the end of the street. If you live in an apartment complex, walk around the apartment complex. Just move right after you eat. It's very good for your digestion. It's very good for your body. It definitely helps to kind of clear your brain a little bit. You may find that doing that combo of eating and then walking may set you up for a really good night's sleep. So one more piece to this body puzzle, and that is supplementation. There's a lot of answers here, and I'm not here to suggest any one thing. I'll just share with you as a description of what I've found that has helped me from time to time. And this is really simple. It's totally natural, doesn't require a prescription or anything. But there are 2 things that I've found that help my body to kind of regulate and relax and set me up for a deeper night's sleep. One is this supplement called magnesium. And you can get it almost anywhere. You can get it online. You can get it at a health food store, or most stores these days. And you might take a capsule, or you might take a powder. There's a lot of different forms of it. I'm not recommending any one particular kind, but magnesium does have a very nice effect on your body. Personally, I use a powder and I stir it up and I drink some right before I'm beginning my evening ritual. And I really like the particular combination of the evening ritual, some of my own mental thought process as I feel my body beginning to settle and beginning to relax. So magnesium is something that I've experienced a lot of benefit from. It might be something worth looking into for yourself. And the other supplement, if you will, sounds strange, but it's coconut oil. I was very skeptical when I first heard this. I thought, coconut oil, I mean, I've tried it in coffee before. It's kind of neat. But I actually tried it. I took a spoonful of it. I'll be the first person to tell you that I don't like the way it tastes, but I figured I'd give it a shot. So I took a spoonful of coconut oil, downed that spoonful, immediately drank a glass of water, thought, we'll see what happens. I was shocked. For whatever reason, I slept so deep. And I've continued to test that. I've continued to take a spoonful of coconut oil from time to time. I don't do it as a regular practice. But every time I do it, it seems like I sleep a little bit better. And I'm not here to tell you the science behind it and the chemistry and all of that. All I'm here to do is invite you to check it out and test for yourself. So magnesium is one supplement option that might be worth exploring. The other one is coconut oil. Just a little spoonful of that stuff. Wash it down if you're like me and you don't like the taste. And then just judge by results. The thing is, there are so many upgrades that are available to us. A lot of times we either don't know about them, so how can you do something you don't know about? Or we know about it, but we've not done it. And this is the theme that you'll find consistent in this program as well as any other training that I'm a part of, closing that gap between what we're aware of and what we're actually applying, because it's about getting results. It's not just about knowing better or just feeling better. It's about doing better so that you can have better. And if you just start applying even just what you've learned in this session on the sleep shield, defending your sanctuary, I mean, just imagine if you just did one or two of these things, you'll begin to see some sort of effect. Imagine if you did all the things that we talk about just on this session and you actually put them into practice in your life. Not only will you begin to see different results, but you'll actually feel your confidence growing. Because nothing creates confidence like progress. And as you hear something and then you apply it and then you get the result, this is how expansion continues to happen in your life. You know, I won't be surprised if you start applying these little things and all of a sudden that becomes the one shift, and next thing you know, you're looking at other areas of your life differently, you know, wondering, well, how can you be even more productive? You know, how can you engage differently with your relationships or your friendships? You know, you might even start getting different creative ideas. Things that you've always wanted to do but kind of been putting off, all of a sudden will seem natural for you. And I don't know what it's going to be for you, but I am excited to continue this journey. And hopefully this Sleep Shield session can make you more aware of some of the enemies of sleep so that you can defend your sanctuary accordingly.